After not seeing each other for a month, instead of asking "Are you okay?" or "How are you feeling?" Jordan just handed me a divorce form. "I don't need a wife with no job. Pay me $700 a month for compensation." "That's right, by then," Jordan said with a smirking laugh. Next to him, Quinn was wrapped around his arm, sporting a similar grin. "All right, here is the divorce form," I said nonchalantly, surprising Jordan a bit, but soon he and Quinn were smiling at each other. It was a good thing Jordan never thought things through deeply. That's exactly why my plan would work out just fine. After the divorce form was processed, Jordan informed me, and that's when I decided to start my revenge plan against the two of them. I'm excited to see them crying. My name is Sarah Cox, a 47-year-old illustrator. Actually, I also work as a children's book author on the side. I'm just a person who loves to draw. I have two childhood friends, Jordan and Quinn. Both of them are my precious best friends, and Jordan is my husband. Jordan asked me out after we graduated high school, and I was the only one going to a different university. I was surprised because I thought Jordan liked Quinn, but there was no way I wasn't happy about a confession from Jordan, who I had a secret crush on. After some thought, I decided to accept his confession after consulting with Quinn. Quinn hadn't been behaving very well since hitting puberty, but she was still an important childhood friend to Jordan and me. However, Quinn always had a tendency to want what others had. Starting from back then, she would take someone's boyfriend and dump him once he was head over heels. This caused trouble more than once. Quinn's parents were worried, so Jordan and I tried to spend as much time with her as possible. Jordan and I got married when we were 25. 4 years later, Quinn suddenly came to see us with her fiancé. His name was Colton Sanders, and he was an elite working for a listed company. Quinn always tells me how you all are so close. I look forward to be friends with you. Colton was a very polite man, and he quickly became friends with Jordan and me. During the holidays, the four of us would gather for trips, and I thought our friendship was going very well. However, 2 years after Quinn and Colton got married, our friendship began to slowly deteriorate. The trigger was Quinn's pregnancy. Jordan and I, coming from families with many siblings and no need to worry about heirs, had decided we didn't want children. We both liked kids, but we weren't very good at dealing with them, and we wanted to continue enjoying our hobbies, like drinking and traveling, without feeling guilty. We often found families with children endearing, but that was about it. After finding out about Quinn's pregnancy, Jordan's behavior started to change. He quit smoking, which he had refused to give up for health reasons, just because Quinn said the smell of smoke is too strong, and he even took time off work to drive her to the hospital, clearly going beyond the realm of just being childhood friends. Hey, if you cling to Quinn too much, don't you think Colton will mind? But you're working, right? It's cold-hearted to ignore a childhood friend who's pregnant and asking for help. Really? I want to help, so I buy things and step in when needed, right? But I think accompanying her to the gynecologist is going too far. When I said that, Jordan frowned. Then, glaring at me, he spat out humph dismissively. "Why's that? Quinn wants me to come with her. She says she's anxious about the checkup, and I can't just let her go alone. If she's anxious, all the more reason for Colton to go with her. If you go with her every time, it's like you're the father of Quinn's baby. Are you jealous? You're not going to be pregnant in the future, so it doesn't matter, right?" Jordan didn't take my criticism seriously, and instead, he started getting more irritated, saying you're being too persistent. Despite us hardly ever fighting since getting married, arguments became more frequent after Quinn got pregnant. And it didn't stop after Quinn gave birth. If anything, Jordan started spending even more time with Quinn and their child, Adeline. When Adeline was 6, an incident occurred. It was about the attendees for Adeline's kindergarten graduation and her school entrance ceremony. The day before the graduation ceremony, Jordan suddenly started rummaging through the closet. "What are you doing, Jordan? Got a business dinner tomorrow." At Jordan's workplace, the dress code was casual except for business dinners, which required a suit. So he had a few suits for such occasions, but they were all thrown on the bed. No, just trying to decide what to wear for the graduation ceremony." "What? You're planning to attend the graduation ceremony?" "Yay, Colton can't make it, so Quinn asked me." "Wait, that's just wrong." I couldn't help but raise my voice in protest. Immediately, Jordan's face soured. I knew he sometimes picked up Adeline from kindergarten, and I had done so myself when asked. But for someone who isn't her parent, attending a kindergarten graduation as if he were seemed absurd. What, you still doubt me and Quinn? I'm disappointed you can't be more supportive. It's not about that. Anyway, I'm going to the graduation ceremony tomorrow, so make sure my shirt is ironed. With that, Jordan ended the conversation and went to the bedroom, leaving me behind. I reluctantly called Quinn. Hello, Quinn. I want to talk to you about tomorrow. Sorry, I'll go with Jordan tomorrow. But isn't Colton going to be upset about him attending the graduation ceremony? What are you talking about, Sarah? I haven't even told Colton the graduation is tomorrow. I'll tell him after it's over. I was shocked to learn Colton didn't know the date of the graduation ceremony. Upon further questioning, Quinn revealed she hadn't informed Colton about any of the kindergarten events, presenting Jordan as the father figure at these occasions, which left me feeling dizzy from the sheer audacity. Wait, Quinn, that's just not right. It's disrespectful to Colton, and just because your childhood friends doesn't make it. What's wrong with that? You sound so scary. Anyway, bye. Hey, Quinn. Quinn hung up, leaving me trembling with anger. Yet, I ended up ironing the shirt, preparing the tie, and watched Jordan leave for Adeline's graduation ceremony the next morning. After that, Quinn and Jordan started going out together more frequently, from once a month to once a week, and then to 3 times a week. Even Colton began to suspect something, eventually visiting me alone while Jordan and Quinn were out. Sorry for the late visit. There's something I'm concerned about. About those two, right? Yes, could you take a look at this? Colton showed me a GPS history from Quinn's car, which included 3 weekly visits to a hotel. Those days all matched the days Jordan and Quinn were out together, and I could tell what it meant just by looking at Colton's face. What do you want to do, Colton? I want to take revenge on them. Me too. I can't forgive them for betraying us after all this time. We quietly began plotting our revenge against the two. I started by increasing my income, as it had significantly decreased due to focusing on household chores and caring for Adeline. Colton switched to working from home. When Quinn and Jordan were going out, we decided to bring Adeline to my house, and the two of us would take care of her together. Neither Quinn nor Jordan had any clue that we were aware of their affair, and we had gathered solid evidence. Just as we had collected enough evidence and were about to seek revenge, we learned a shocking truth about Adeline. Colton and I pondered over it for a long time, but since we both agreed that we didn't want to hurt Adeline, who was still young, we decided to postpone our revenge until after she became an adult. However, after enduring 10 years of waiting, I was struck by a serious illness. I needed a long-term hospitalization, and I was told that I wouldn't be able to leave the hospital for at least 2 years. While I could work from my hospital room, it was clear that I needed to reduce my workload. After informing Colton about my situation, I consulted with Jordan. However, Jordan's reaction was no different from when we would have casual conversations. I guess I'll drop by when I can. Not even asking about my condition or the name of my illness, I realized that Jordan no longer had any love left for me. Indeed, Jordan only visited once a month, or sometimes once every 2 months. Around the time Adeline turned 15, her behavior started to change. She used to visit me in the hospital almost every day, but after her 15th birthday, she became distant. However, even Colton didn't know why, leaving us puzzled. Even when I asked Adeline, she just said, "Don't worry about it." But unexpectedly, I ended up hearing the reason from Jordan. "Hey, it's been a while." Indeed, Jordan entered without knocking, looking much more flamboyant than before. Despite it being a month since his last visit, he didn't offer any words of concern like "Are you okay?" or "How are you feeling?" Instead, Jordan presented me with a divorce form. "I don't need a wife with no job. Pay me $700 a month for compensation." "That's right, by then," Jordan said, smirking. Next to him, Quinn was making a similar expression, clinging to Jordan's arm. "All right, here is the divorce form," I said nonchalantly, surprising Jordan a bit, but he quickly exchanged smiles with Quinn. It was good that Jordan never fought things through deeply. That's what made my plan work perfectly. After the divorce form was processed, Jordan informed me, and that's when I decided to start my revenge plan against the two of them. I'm excited to see them crying. I immediately started taking action. I contacted Colton to inform him that I was transferring hospitals and that a lawyer would now be handling the situation. Colton also began to take action, moving closer to my new hospital with Adeline. They started visiting more frequently. Adeline still looked gloomy, but it was nice to see her every day. Since I had moved most of my belongings to the hospital room, I told Jordan he could dispose of whatever was left. I didn't want anything they might have touched in my new life. After settling into the new hospital and Colton's move, I received a call from Jordan. It should have only been a few minutes while I was away from my phone, but there were already 30 missed calls showing on my phone. Reluctantly, I answered the call. "What? Hey, what's going on?" I could hear the panicked voice of Jordan, along with a troubled real estate agent, and Quinn yelling in the background, making me feel sick. "What do you mean what's going on? It's obviously about the house. Why do we have to leave?" Jordan yelled, as if it was my fault. I calmly responded to Jordan's accusations. "After all, that house is mine." "No." Jordan seemed to have completely forgotten, but in reality, the place we, as a couple, lived in was a house I had rented as a workspace when I started to make a living as a freelancer. At that time, I didn't have the income to maintain two houses, and Jordan didn't make enough to live on his own. That's why he had moved into my workspace come home. So, Jordan had never paid rent for that house, let alone the utility bills. Though he paid for living expenses, it wasn't enough to cover everything. Unfortunately, that house is already sold. Originally, the place was far from where I moved, so I had processed the termination the day after I filed for divorce. The reason I didn't contact him was that the realtor said they would reach out on my behalf once they knew the situation. Colton seems to have disappeared with Adeline all of a sudden too, and their house got sold. Where are we going to live from now on? I don't care. I started working with the call on speaker, and Jordan yelled back in frustration, "Don't joke with me." However, he seemed to remember something and spoke in a softer tone. "Never mind. So when will you transfer it? We're running low on cash." "What are you talking about? Huh? Don't mess with me. Didn't I tell you to pay me $700? "Oh, I don't recall agreeing to that." Jordan was screaming without any words over the phone in response to my indifferent answer. It appears he thought he could get money from me and had been spending recklessly. He spent over $700, though. "Don't just stay silent, say something. There's nothing to talk about, really." At my counter, Jordan was momentarily stunned but then started yelling again. I was getting fed up and addressed Jordan in as cheerful a tone as I could. "Anyway, we're strangers now, so please don't contact me anymore. A lawyer will get in touch with you regarding the rest." "Huh? Lawyer? Hey, wait a minute." I hung up without listening to Jordan. He called back several times, but eventually gave up when I kept ignoring him. However, angry that I wasn't answering his calls, Jordan started ignoring calls from the lawyer. While he had his childish moments, I never thought he'd be someone who could trouble others so nonchalantly. At Jordan's selfishness, I sighed deeply. Months later, during a temporary discharge, I visited Jordan's parents' house. In front of me were a shrunken and trembling Jordan and Quinn. "Why did you tell my parents about it?" "I just reported our divorce, that's all." At my response, Jordan glared at me fiercely, but shrank back under the gaze of his father. Actually, I got along very well with my ex-in-laws, visiting or dining out with them even when Jordan wasn't around. Despite being so favored by them, I felt it was only right to inform them of the circumstances leading to our divorce. "I've heard everything. Is it true you remarried Quinn?" "Yes, it's true. Quinn, Adeline, and I are starting over as a family." "What are you saying? Your family is Sarah alone. She's no longer family to me." At Jordan's words, his father frowned. With a resigned look, Jordan shook his head a few times, then presented me with a paper. It was a bill from a nearby luxury hotel. "What's this? What do you mean?" "Look, it's the bill from where we stayed." As if it were the most natural thing, Jordan pointed to it on the table, but the next moment, he was knocked over. "Ouch, what are you doing, Mom? I didn't raise you to be such a person." Facing his mother, who was breathing heavily with anger, Jordan looked as if he couldn't believe what was happening. Beside him, Quinn shared the same expression. "Why are you so mad? You're getting a blood-related grandchild. Aren't you happy?" "Blood-related? You mean, you too?" My ex-male looked at Quinn with disbelief, then turned her gaze towards me. My ex-in-laws understood that I didn't want children, and had treated me like their own daughter regardless. Of course, Quinn, being a childhood friend, was also doted on, but there was a clear line between a deal and a friend, and I remember Quinn often complained about it. That's why I was certain my ex-male wouldn't be pleased with this situation, and Quinn knew it too. "You always adored Adeline. You'd be happy to have her as your grandchild, right? That's because she's the child of someone I've known for a long time. She is blood related to Jordan, though." Despite everything, Quinn showed no sign of remorse, only a demeanor that seemed to ask, "Why don't you get it?" which gave me goosebumps. At that moment, someone who had been silent spoke up. "Cut it out. It's creepy." "Wha?" Adeline. Adeline, who had been playing with her phone in the corner, said this without looking up from her screen. The room fell silent at her sudden interjection. "My dad is the only dad I need. Whether we're blood related or not, he's the only one for me." "But, you know, Jordan has been there for you for events and stuff." I heard it all from Dad. How he was only told about events after they were over, and eventually, he wasn't even told about them at all. But Dad always said I was his daughter. "So, I am his daughter, and I will never be yours." Adeline said this with a glare at Quinn. Then, sitting next to me, her demeanor changed as she spoke with a hint of seeking assurance. "You know, when I found out about this, I thought Sarah might start to dislike me. But Dad said that wouldn't happen, so I came here today. Adeline, I love you so much. You're so kind, and I was so happy you visited me every day." "Sarah." Adeline seemed relieved, tears welling up as she hugged me. She might be a kite of Jordan and Quinn, but after 15 years of taking care of her, I couldn't help but love her. "By the way, Quinn, didn't you find it strange that I wasn't surprised to learn that Adeline was Jordan's daughter?" Quinn looked startled. Before she could respond, a person entered the room. "We've known about it for 10 years. Colton." Quinn panicked at the sight of Colton, which was understandable given she had unilaterally decided to divorce him recently over irreconcilable differences. "I was surprised when you mentioned divorce. Oh, and by the way, we're not divorced yet. The divorce form is still here. Didn't you notice?" "What?" "Jordan and Quinn didn't even check that before remarrying. So, Quinn is still my wife, and Adeline is my daughter." "Well, I'm divorcing you, though." "What do you mean by that? A 15-year-old can choose which parent she wants to live with." "That's not true." "Adeline, you're staying with me, right?" Quinn said that, looking at Adeline. Adeline frowned at Quinn's words and held my hand. At this, Quinn was at a loss for words and glared at me. Then, out of nowhere, Jordan burst into laughter. "I got it. You guys are going out, right? Too bad Colton's earnings alone won't cut it, will you?" "That's not true. And for your information, Colton's income is twice what Quinn thinks it is." "What? That's just bluffing, right? Besides, Sarah, you can't work with your condition. You'll just end up dying miserably somewhere." This time, I couldn't help but laugh at Jordan's huge misunderstanding. Seeing me suddenly burst into laughter, Jordan got frustrated, veins popping on his forehead. "You don't know how much I earn, do you? It's just a bit more than a part-time job, right?" "No, you're wrong. It's $500,000 a year." "What?" Jordan froze, his eyes and mouth wide open, with Quinn doing the same beside him. "In fact, over the past 10 years, I've become a popular children's book author, and my income skyrocketed from books and interviews. Moreover, with a movie adaptation in the works, my earnings are soaring." "No way, that's a lie." Then how about you take a look at this?" I said that and showed Quinn the screen of my bank account. Seeing the substantial amount deposited every month, Quinn was so shocked she lost her words. "Sarah, we should get back together." "What? What are you talking about?" Quinn was furious at Jordan, who was blinded by the amount of money. I watched them with a sense of disillusionment and then spoke up. "Well, if you're marrying Quinn, feel free. Oh, and I'll be taking a decent amount for alimony." "Sarah, wait. Sarah." Ignoring Jordan's words, I took Adeline's hand. We then greeted my ex-in-laws and left their house. Later on, my ex-in-laws covered Jordan's share of the alimony. Jordan had been working at his father's company but was fired after it was discovered he lied about being out on sales calls. My ex-Phil is planning to recoup the money from Jordan by making him work as a migrant worker. Being indoorsy, Jordan found working as a migrant worker tough. He contacted me several times, but after I informed my ex-Phil, he stopped calling me. Quinn lost custody of Adeline and got divorced. Having no interest in poor Jordan, Quinn did not pursue him. She was disowned by her family and lived alone in a shabby apartment. Having not worked at all since getting married and always having others do things for her, she struggled to find a full-time job. Still, with living expenses and alimony to pay, she was living on the edge, juggling multiple part-time jobs. Adeline is studying hard at high school every day, hoping to study abroad at a renowned university overseas. Being serious by nature, her dream is to translate my children's books and share them with the world, which makes me happy. As for me, my books continue to sell well, with talks of animation and merchandise deals coming in steadily. Regarding my health, things are going smoothly. I'm still hospitalized but was recently told by my doctor that I might be discharged next year. Additionally, Colton and Adeline have been visiting me daily. Recently, Colton asked me if we could start dating with marriage in mind. I put off giving an answer, but I can't help feeling affectionate towards him, suggesting we live together once I'm discharged. While contemplating my response, I continue working on my books. Hoping for a future where we all find happiness, I keep writing books.